I think they called this meeting to start at 7 o'clock, so City Clerk, could you go ahead and take the roll, please?
At 11 o'clock.
11 o'clock. 11 o'clock, yes. If you're still watching and you're still here, thank you.
Alderman Braithwaite. Alderman Nguyen. Alderman Wilson. Here. Alderman Ruth Simmons. Alderman Suffredin. Here. Alderman Revelle. Here. Alderman Rainey. Here. Alderman Fleming.
Here.
I'm sorry, and then Alderman Fisk, which I suppose she's here as well.
Okay. Yes. All right. So I believe Alderman Fisk and Alderman Ruth Simmons are here and on their way. Thank you, everybody, for everyone's participation leading up to our council meeting starting at 11. I know there's a lot of important issues going on around the city, and appreciate all of the engagement. In terms of announcements, I just have some really quick shout outs. First, congratulations to YOU, to the city staff at Fleetwood Jourdain, to the kids at King Lab for all putting on some pretty impressive Martin Luther King Day celebrations that occurred since our last meeting. Also, a big thank you to Faith Temple and their community, who put on a lovely celebration last Friday night, which many of the council members here were able to attend as well, for our police and our firefighters here in this community. And it was something that Bishop Moody wanted to do, to thank them for all of the work that they do to keep us safe every day. Additionally, I want to call out Adam Howard and Mario Miller, who I bumped into at the Northwestern Penn State game with many of the kids who are 6th to 8th graders that are part of the Officer and the Gentleman Academy, which is a wonderful program started a couple years ago, and they're doing some great work. And with that, that will end any announcements that I have tonight. I know it's late and we need to get going here. City Manager, do you have any?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, good evening. We have a new staff member here I'd like to introduce. Maureen, if you could come up to the podium. As I think you all know, Anna Sanchez, the local government management fellow, left us, and we have asked Moran Hernandez to join us. He is a native of Venezuela, has spent most of his time in the Miami area, but 2 years ago, he and his wife moved to the Chicago area. He has a bachelor's degree in political science from the University of Miami. He's pursuing a master's degree at the University of Baltimore through their online program, and he is looking to make a career change and wants to work in local government. So he'll be with us full time until the end of July or end of June, and we'll bring on a new ICMA local government management fellow. So he'll be here to do the council actions and provide other support for special projects. So I wish I could say every meeting's like this, but it's really not. So, so welcome. We're very happy to have you.
Thank you very much. Should I say something?
We can say anything else if you'd like.
Oh, really quick.
It's only 5 after 11.
Good evening. I want to thank the City of Evanston residents and the City Council members for this opportunity to speak. Douglas Adams once said, to give real public service, you must add something which cannot be bought or measured with money, and that is sincerity and integrity. I look forward to meeting and working with the City Council members and all the City Evanston employees to uphold those values I hold dear. My whole goal is to learn and support the practice of public administration and its ability to serve the public interest with professional expertise, technical skills, and ethical behavior. Thank you.
Thank you, Marianne. And you're all aware of this promotion, but I would like to make a formal announcement. Erica Storley is now our Assistant City Manager. So, Erica, thank you for taking on that responsibility. That concludes my public announcements.
All right. Thank you, City Manager, and welcome, Moriant. City Clerk, do you have any announcements?
None for tonight.
All right, great. We're going to move on to public comment. I don't have the list in front of me. Is there a list out there? Oh, all right. All right, Jackie's bringing it in for us. Thank you. All right, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have 7 people signed up. I don't know if they're all here. So per our rules, everyone gets 3 minutes. You guys, I think, know the drill. If you get close to the 3 minutes, I'll just give you a little nudge to wrap it up. So the first 3 speakers that we have, Claire Kelly is up first. If she's gone, then we have Marlon Milner, and then we have Jackie Prince. Welcome.
Good evening. Since we're all here late enough that I actually got the extra minute since I prepared for 2, I'll try the carrot and the stick approach. I'll say in my unprepared carrot remarks that I do appreciate everything you all do, and if you've taken the time to get to know me indirectly, since none of you have gotten to know me directly, then you know I'm intimately familiar with this type of service, that it's not your area of expertise, that it is not your full-time job, that you often get blamed for 99 problems and you're not responsible for one. However, I do believe, if you're familiar with my experience, you may know that I take time to listen to those who complain, because in every complaint there's an element, if only an element, of something that needs to be heard and responded to. Therefore, now with the stick. In June and again in September 2017, I came to this body and I shared that I wanted government to get involved in a racist set of incidents I experienced at Royce Moore School. I came here because, notwithstanding your symbolic and unenforceable human relations ordinance, the Evanston City Council 7 years ago voted to conduct a bond offering of more than $11 million to fund conduit financing to the school, including some of you sitting here. Royce Moore would not exist to treat parents and children of color like me and my daughter the way they have, except for your action. They now cannot pay this loan you provided. All of this is not merely interesting, it is troubling. And on top of all of this, my attempts to get this city to share information, communications, and documentation as to the circumstances of the funding and land development approval for Royce Moore has met a procedural brick wall of silence from this city. Steve, while you, Bobby, Devon act like juveniles in a sandbox, according to a Patch.com article in December, cannot get along, my repeated FOIA requests, which document, in the last request, Mr. Reed, of at least 1,611 emails and 1,900 pages worth of records, has to date only provided me 3 measly emails that indicate that apparently only Alderman Revelle was invited to the opening of the building. And into the side comment conversation about no emails from 2009, put it on paper, because of one of those 3 lousy emails was from March 2010. And given the discussion tonight and the differences of opinion about documentation, I would think the city would have documents related to the convoluted and complicated way that land development deal was approved and the financing was provided. Folks, you can keep playing childish political games, showing up in the news, debating irrelevant matters. But if you keep ignoring me and my reasonable requests, I'm going to show you what President Bill Clinton meant when he said that politics is a full contact sport. I may lose, I've lost a lot, but I assure you I will get some flagrant fouls and some face mask holes in before you get out of the game. And who knows, I'm from Philly. I may just win. Fly, Eagles, fly. God be with you if Royce Moore tries to sneak back in this chamber and have you bail them out again. I can promise you that will be a concrete slab around your neck, a political tombstone. Since you refinanced Caravali, I know it's possible for you to do a conduit to refinance Royce-Moore.
I gave you 4.
I won't be back unless you act in public to save this school. But if your lawyers, starting with Mr. Farrar, keep wanting to call my FOIA requests unduly burdensome, I think I may need to find 50% plus one folks in the public that find your service unduly burdensome and can fire these lawyers. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Marlon. Next up, we got Jackie Prince, then Kira Kelly, then Dominic Heiler. I apologize if I mispronounce anyone's name. There comes Jackie.
Hello, everybody. Happy New Year. I would like to say thank you guys for listening to me.
Can you speak
When
into
I
the mic,
asked-
please?
Oh, sorry. Thank you guys for listening to me when I asked for you guys to consider the homeless people who do not fall under the special category of homeless. I think that you guys have made some changes and that you've considered other people, so I thank you for that. I wanted to bring to your attention that I was just reading an article online about the meters that aren't working. And on Chicago Avenue, along Trader Joe's and on the west side of the street as well, there's some meters there that have said holiday for months, or it was stuck on a certain time for at least 30 days. These are several meters, and it was long enough for the people who have trucks and vans and cars in the neighborhood who know about those meters parked there, so you're losing a lot of money there. Also, at Jewel, between like the hours of 9 or 9:30 and 11:30, buses parked there, a school bus or school buses parked there and take up maybe 3 or 4 parking meters. And I'm really not quite, I don't think that's fair because I got 5,000 tickets from you guys when I had a car and I don't have a car anymore. But that's all I wanted to tell you. I do know that you're going to have something on panhandling coming up, and of course I will be speaking on that. Other than that, thank you guys, and I'm so glad you guys voted down something and sit up and listen to your constituents. Have a good evening.
Great, thank you, Jackie. Dominic, or Kira Kelly, I don't see her here. Dominic Heiler, Tricia Conley, James Engelman. Hey, James, come on up, you're the last speaker.
Hello. Good evening. I'm James Engelman from 24 Brown, and I'd like you to reject this 1723 Ruby's restaurant because the guy never talked about when he about if it's supposed to be a safe zone, a safe haven for kids. He never talked about having social workers in the restaurant, and if he's going to have kids, they should have a bicycle rack in front of the building or on the side, because when the kids go to the store, that place, they usually throw their bikes on the sidewalk, and you can't get past. And I remember, and that's what I'm trying to say is, please reject it because I don't think it's going to be a safe place. Thank you.
Thank you, James. Thank you for everybody this evening that spoke at public comment. We're going to move on now to the consent agenda. Alderman Rainey, if you would start us off, and if you wouldn't mind starting with M1, the approval of minutes, and then going into Administration and Public Works.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First item on the agenda is approval of the minutes of the regular council meeting of January 8, 2018. It's for action. Administration and Public Works Committee met this evening, a long time ago, and we ask your approval of the payroll through January 7 in the amount of $2,948,470.31. The bills list through the 23rd of January from 2017, $2,084,030.72. 2018, $616,587.34. Those are for action. They're not separated by...
Yeah, so you can keep going tonight. We don't have to
I think so.
stop and
I
do the
think
vote
so.
in the middle.
I hope
Yep.
that's right. We ask your approval to allow the city manager to execute a contract for the asbestos abatement at 72123 Howard Street with Cove Remediation in the amount of $38,000. Approval is requested for the manager to execute change order number 1 with Tesca Associates for architectural and engineering services for the Gibbs Morrison Site Improvement Project in the amount of $3,640, increasing the contract amount to $81,281 and extending the deadline by 457 days to September 30, 2018. That's for action. Also for action tonight is a request to approve the change order 1 to the existing engineer contract for Fountains. Oh, okay. A 3.3 is off the consent agenda and will be addressed by the committee chair. A 3.4, we request that you authorize city manager to approve the renewal of the annual single source service agreement with Motorola in the amount of $84,740. The agreement is effective from January 1 through December 31. It's a sole source. Approval is, I think, A 3.5
Yes,
is
can
off
you
the
remove that,
consent
please, Alderman?
agenda and
Thank
will
you.
be addressed by the committee chair. Approval is requested for the Minority Women and Business Enterprise Development Committee is recommending that the council approve spending for local employment program penalties for workforce development by financing the application and candidate physical ability test fees for local Evanston firefighter applicants. City Council is requested to adopt Resolution 3R18, which authorizes payments relating to FY 2018 Capital Improvement Plan project expenditures up to $20,777,000 to be reimbursed by the subsequent 2018 general obligation bond issuance. We ask your approval for Resolution 5R18, authorizing the manager to sign an agreement with the Cook County Assessor's Office for access to geographic information system data. Information technology receives an annual update of the assessor's database, which is used to augment the city's GIS database. Resolution 4R18, approval of the execution of the first addendum to the city's water supply agreement with Morton Grove Niles Water Commission. City Council adoption of this resolution authorizes approval and execution of the first addendum to the water supply agreement between the City of Evanston and Morton Grove Niles Water Commission. This addendum memorializes the relevant changes in status/contract assignment and confirms that the Water Commission assumes the same contractual obligations owed to the city under the 2017 Water Supply Agreement. It's for action. Council is asked to adopt Ordinance 6018, this is for action and introduction and action. I'm asking for suspension of the rules here. Authorizing the city manager to enter into a real estate contract for the sale of certain city-owned real estate located at 623 through 627.5 Howard Street to Little Piggy LLC. A two-thirds majority of the city council is required to adopt Ordinance 6018. This is, as you might imagine, Peckish Pig. Ordinance 8018 amends the City Code 101116 parentheses B, designation of truck routes and bike routes. The ordinance amends Title 16B1 and B2 to correct an error as well. This is for action. We're asking the council to take action tonight, amending the city code, section 442, amendments requiring fire protection systems testing records on an annual basis. That concludes the consent agenda from Administration Public Works.
Oh, thank you, Alderman Rainey. Alderman Nguyen, would you lead us through Planning and Development Committee?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Item P1, vacation rental license for 710 Madison Street, was tabled in the committee until the February 26th meeting. Item P2, ordinance 7018, granting a special use for a Type 2 restaurant, Collectivo Coffee, at 716 Church Street. I move introduction and suspension of the rules, and then Alderman Fisk has requested that, and that we move for action tonight. Item P3 is ordinance 13018, granting a special use for the expansion of a religious institution and a major zoning relief for a third-story addition at 2014 Orrington Avenue. I move introduction. And item ordinance 14018, granting a special use for a Type 2 restaurant, Ruby's, at 1723 Simpson Street, was held in committee so that the staff can provide more information to the applicant. Item P5, well, actually, is off the agenda.
Right, item P5 did not move out of the committee. It failed to move out of the committee. Yep. Could you also go through appointments, Alderman Nguyen?
Yes. For appointment to the Plan Commission is George Halleck. For reappointment to the MWEBE Development Committee is Joshua Gutstein. To the Public Safety Civil Service Commission is Mary Erickson.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, City Clerk, could you take the roll, please, on the consent agenda?
Alderman Braithwaite. Aye. Alderman Nguyen.
Aye.
Alderman Wilson. Aye. Alderman Ruth Simmons.
Aye.
Alderman Sufferton. Aye. Alderman Ravel. Aye. Alderman Rainey.
Aye.
Alderman Fleming.
Aye.
And Alderman Fisk.
All right, the consent agenda passes the City Council 9-0. Alderman Rainey, could you take us through the two items that were pulled off the consent agenda, starting with A33?
Yes, sir. A33, Administration Public Works recommends the council authorize the city manager to approve change order number 1 to the existing engineering services contract for the Fountain Square renovation project with Christopher B. Burke Engineering in the amount of $197,906.79 to increase the agreement to $945,438.68 and extends the contract deadline to September 30, 2018. I move approval.
Okay, discussion? Somebody didn't pull it off? Okay. Alderman Sufferton?
Just real quick, I voted against this, and I just would like to ask staff to see if there's an accommodation that can be made by Christopher Burke Engineering based on the amount of business the City of Evanston does with them. And that's all.
Okay, seeing no further conversation, City Clerk, could you take the roll?
Alderman Braithwaite. Aye. Alderman Nguyen.
Aye.
Alderman Wilson. Alderman Ruth Simmons.
Aye.
Alderman Sufferton.
No.
Alderman Ravel. Alderman Rainey.
Aye.
Alderman Fleming.
Aye.
And Alderman Fisk.
All right. Item A3.3, change order number 1 to the engineering services contract for the Fountain Square renovation project with Christopher Burke Engineering is passed the City Council 8-1. Could you take us, Alderman Rainey, to A3.5?
A3.5, City Council is requested to authorize the manager to execute a 12-month extension with Motivate International to continue to operate the Divvy bicycle sharing system in Evanston. The 12-month extension will provide additional time for Motivate and the city to build Evanston-based ridership, complete potential station relocations, and better support this mode of transportation. I move approval.
All right, so there was a move for approval and a second. Any discussion? Alderman Fisk?
Could I just ask the city manager what work is being done in looking at dockless bike sharing?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, Alderman Fisk, there are several companies that are circling the Chicago area, circling Northwestern campus, which we're aware of. We're also talking with our partners at Divvy. They are also looking at these issues. Certainly, the city of Chicago is facing similar issues. I think our plan, I know our plan over the next 12 months is to work with Chicago, work with Divvy, try to see if a process using Divvy makes sense. If it does not, to continue talking with the dockless bike companies, and if it makes sense, come back to you with an agreement with them. I think the dollars that are being invested are appropriate at this point. I think that this industry is changing rapidly, and I think we just need to be mindful of that. So I would anticipate coming back to the council prior to adoption of the 2019 budget with recommendations to move forward.
Alderman Braithwaite?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I regret that I wasn't at the AP&W to share my comments. Now, I guess when we first rolled this out several years ago, I was really excited about it. I remember with Alderman Holmes advocating to have more stations on the west side, and although there has been some increase with the subscribers, I still feel like this is a huge investment of taxpayer dollars, and it might just be cheaper to buy bikes and give them away for all I know. But I would like to hold this in committee to wait for the report from our city manager regarding Northwestern and the other dockless bike programs. Is that what it's called? Okay.
And Mr. Mayor, Alderman Braithwaite, I can report this evening that the university is not prepared to move forward at this point with a dockless bike program. We would not be prepared to have one in place during 2017 at this juncture. So we're proposing to move forward with one more year working with Divvy in order to continue this forward. But again, this is a changing environment, and it would be not in the best interest of Evanston not to continue to look at options. We have talked with Divvy. They are proposing some changes to the program, which we will continue talking with them over the next several weeks. There are some opportunities potentially to pick up a few additional stations. As I think many of you are aware, the Village of Oak Park has decided not to move forward, so they have some stations that are available through the grant that we received along with Oak Park and the City of Chicago, where we need to sort through what that would mean. I know at committee, Alderman Suffredin indicated some interest in having us look at some east-west transportation for individuals who live in the western part of Evanston to get back to transit. So that's something we will pursue over the next several weeks as well. So there is no dockless company that we're prepared to enter into any kind of agreement with. The university has rejected doing that at this time, but it's something we will do over the next several months. Our Transportation Mobility Coordinator, Katie Knapp, as you all know, moved from the area. We have offered and have been accepted a new individual to fill that position, so she'll be coming on board the first part of February. So this is something we'll continue to work on.
Great, thank you, City Manager. Alderman Wilson. All right. Alderman Rainey.
City Manager answered what I was going to say, but also can't hold it in committee. We already sent it to the council. You asked that it be held in committee.
I asked that it be held. I guess we have to hold it at council. That's why I removed it from so there's just a motion to hold.
Okay. Let's finish the discussion. Alderman Fleming.
Yeah, so I have a couple questions, and forgive me if this was in the packet, I'm forgetting. So we lay out the cost to operate Divvy for last year, and then also some sponsorship revenue. Do we anticipate this year those being the same?
At this point, we anticipate it being approximately the same. We hope that ridership will go up, and so consequently, the dollars that the city would invest ultimately would go down.
Okay, but we think we're going to get the sponsorship dollars again.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, and so my question is, given that Oak Park has canceled Divvy, do we think that it makes sense, as Alderman Sufferton said about Christopher Burke, that we could go back and try to negotiate some lower cost for operation?
Well, we had a 60-month extension, which we've renegotiated to a year. So the way the Divvy contract works is that fees and charges paid by riders are a portion of the amount. The balance is made up by the city either through tax dollars or through sponsorships. We can continue to be more aggressive with sponsorships. Again, there's a representative from Divvy here this evening, and he may wish to speak more to some additional models I think that they're looking at for sponsorships, which will help us here in Evanston as well as the system in Chicago. Sir, I don't know if you wish to get up to address that. So we anticipate that the dollars will be at the most the same as 2017, and we would hope less in 2018. And sir, I apologize, I don't remember your name.
That's okay. Good evening. My name is Michael Kritzen, General Manager of Divvy. Thank you for having me. So the one consideration that the city manager is referring to is the current sponsorship deal with Blue Cross Blue Shield, which is a system sponsor for Divvy. Today, unfortunately, because of the way the agreements, the timing of all the agreements, Evanston does not see any of that upside. That is due to expire in May of 2019. So in 2018, sometime probably mid to late 2018, that any new deal will begin to be negotiated. Should Evanston still have an active system, they will see sponsorship revenue from that new deal. So it's estimated to be between $500 and $750 per bike. So for Evanston, Evanston owns 110 bikes, so that could be up to $80,000 for the year.
But that, I'm sorry, it's midnight.
No, that's okay.
But that is depending on us going past 2018 in our contract.
So yes, yes, but however, before this time next year, you would know what to expect for 2019.
Okay, and in terms of our cost to operate Divvy that just have to do with you and not the sponsorship, there is no negotiation room in there?
I think, as the city manager said, I think we already kind of came to an agreement that we were going down to the 12 months. As I stand here today, I think that's kind of where we stand, but,
But you will ask the powers that be.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
I'm sorry, just for clarification, how many bikes was that?
110 bikes.
And then do we own those bikes?
Yes.
All right. So the cost to operate each bike is roughly $2,198 if you divide that by the total cost of 2017's numbers.
Would that be the net cost?
I'm just going by the simple math that I see in front of me. So it's $241,875 divided by the number of bikes that are in the streets, and that gives you $2,198.
Yes, that sounds right to me.
Okay, it's a lot of money per bike.
Go ahead. Your light was on, so go ahead, and then I'm going to go to Alderman Ravel and then Alderman Fisk.
Take the next question. I'm sorry. Just
okay. No worries. Alderman Ravel.
So, City Manager, am I correct in thinking that the Divvy for All program hasn't had a full year yet? Or is that?
I'm ready.
That's correct. So that was something that was launched in the spring summer timeframe. I think we have been gearing up. Mrs. Leonard's here. Did you hear the question as far as the Divvy for All program?
Good evening. So the program has been established, but we have not done the full launch yet. We knew Katie Knapp was leaving at the end of about November and wanted to wait for the full replacement person to come in, not just the community development director. So we intend to do a stronger and more robust rollout this year.
Right. Okay. Because I do think it'd be really good to be able to see what a full year of a Divvy for All program would do in terms of increasing the bike ridership from other parts of the community. So.
Thank you, Alderman Ravel. I'm going to follow my order. So Alderman Braithwaite, you were next, and then
Thank you,
Alderman
Mr. Mayor.
Fisk.
So my question, John, you can stay there for a moment. So my curious question that I didn't have a chance to ask at the committee was breaking down the sponsorship revenue. So I know that as part of public benefit that I've seen in a number of packets that developers are paying approximately $10,000 a pop. So Valley, $10,000. And I don't know if that was $10,000 initially into the station or into the sponsorships. Can you?
It was into the stations, so
Okay.
that the dollars you're seeing here in the memo, those don't include, those numbers were 2016 numbers in sponsorships, because we rolled Divvy out in June of 2016. So those numbers for the different projects that spent money, those were for the 2016 numbers. What you have here is 2017. So the 2017 membership and station fee revenue, combined with the North Shore University Health System's advertisements, that is what you're seeing in terms of the revenue that we received.
Is there any projections for 2018? I'm thinking particularly of a project in my ward, and somewhere I saw $10,000 for Divvy bike station in front of a senior building, and it just, in my mind, I could think of a better way to allocate $10,000 that's going to a senior building, particularly in that area of town. So I'm curious how many other sponsorships are for the stations that are tied to development that you're budgeting for 2018.
So I think we're anticipating similar sponsorship revenue in terms of advertisements. If there's additional stations to be added, then there may be coverage of fees related to that. I don't know exactly if the 10,000 was already counted or if it's going to be counted, but that revenue would count against the cost associated with operating the station. In terms of that station, that membership and fee revenue, as we've sort of referenced, there's some things that Divvy's working on to address how we bring in more riders, and in particular those east-west connections are something that we've talked about, and we know that is a challenge to bringing people on the western portions of our town to the transit. So that is a big hurdle to overcome, and with the addition of potentially procuring additional stations or moving stations to other locations that will better serve. One of the things I mentioned at Administration of Public Works is that stations, we've got a lot of feedback from businesses who can literally have their eyes on the station all day long and can give us some insight. Where are people asking about where stations are, or where should we move these a little bit? Even just moving them to a different side of the street can change the perception of getting on a bicycle and riding instead of having to cross the street.
Okay.
Okay, Alderman Fisk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I'm interested in the number. I guess I just wasn't remembering that we own the bikes. I'm assuming that Oak Park also owned their bikes. How would we get those bikes and those stations? Would we have to buy them from Oak Park, or what happens to the bikes when a community no longer is with Divvy?
So this is all new. I'm not sure. Was it last week when Oak Park? Yeah. So they just like the city of Evanston, we received a grant from the state of Illinois to procure the stations and the bikes, and we matched with a 20% match. Oak Park did the same. So we're sorting through what obligations they would have to the state in terms of what they owe. I mean, do they have to provide the money back? Do they have to return? All those things, so that would certainly influence the cost of these stations. And if Chicago, as a partner in all of this, also has a right to purchase the stations as well. So this is moving very quickly, as they say, and this is one of those items we're pursuing, but don't have an answer at this moment.
And Mr. Mayor, members of the council, again, Alderman Suffredin's indicated some interest for a station in his ward, so I think we're going to try to at least obtain one additional station, or at least to find out what the cost is and come back to you for one additional station. And if there's a desire to do any further, if there's a deal to be had, then I think we'll at least talk to you about that. So
I'd still like to hold. I don't know if anybody else wants to second it. It's a ton of money.
So, I'm sorry, what's your motion is to hold in council until?
I just want, I think, 30 days to take a look. It's an expensive program. And when we first started, it sounded really good, and we were going to get a extra star rating to do it, but when you look at the numbers, it's just not working. And I don't mind saying I supported it in the beginning, and here we are 2 years later after reviewing it. It's an expensive program, and we're supplementing this budget on the backs of our developers in the tune of $10,000, and I think we could better allocate our funds for this. I mean, it's cheaper, like I said before, to just buy a bike and find a way to give it to somebody who wants to use it. I mean, the reality is we're not Chicago, where folks, are limited with space, garages to store their bikes. It's just, there's a reason that Oak Park ditched the program.
So I can second that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, let's, Alderman Wilson.
No, it's
Can't talk.
been held.
Well, but I had my light on before,
All right.
if I could actually get a chance to talk tonight occasionally. All right, so as somebody who voted against the Divvy program in the first place, and we've invested hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars, so it seems to me to be kind of ridiculous to say, okay, we're not going to pay to maintain the system. So, and you pretty much heard none of what I said, right?
Would you like to repeat yourself?
Sure.
Thank you.
We invested an extraordinary amount of money in these, and I had voted against them. I was very concerned about the cost. I voted not to do the program. But to throw it out without an alternative in line, and the city management has actually negotiated us, instead of having to obligate ourselves to 5 years, right?
Right.
So we're now like negotiated down to a year. So why would we jeopardize going down to from a 5-year commitment to a 1-year commitment? Why would we hold that? Why would we risk losing the good deal? Or the better deal, I should say. It's not a good deal at all, but it's certainly a better opportunity. Because I certainly don't want to be locked into 5 years for something that might be obsolete.
Well,
So it seems to me that we've done the negotiations. Let's just pull off the Band-Aid, move forward, and see what we look like in a year. So that's my thought.
Well, however you slice it, it's been held, so I won't say anything else.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, under the council's rules, the hold with a motion and a second is until the next meeting. If you wish to do a date certain, it takes a vote of the council. So the
motion was to move it to a date certain, so that requires
a vote.
So you're good with just the motion as it is, which was, although you mentioned you wanted to do 30 days. The next meeting, city manager, would be February 9th.
Well, the next meeting is the next Monday.
Okay, so the motion was 30 days, so we have to vote on that.
So that's not a council hold. That is a parliamentary procedure. Hold to a date certain.
Okay. All right. So Alderman Braithwaite, do you want to revise the motion? See if we get a second on that.
I think I'm all right with going to vote. And then if we need to, I can always, let's call the question if we need to just do it to the next meeting.
Okay. So right now the motion was.
I think realistically nothing is going to change in 2 weeks, and I think after 30 days of doing a little bit of research, we can make a meaningful decision. However you slice it, it's $241,000 and change.
All I'm asking is, does somebody want to place the motion right now to hold to a date certain?
You did, and it was second. So we just take a vote.
It was second.
Yeah, just got to vote.
Yeah, now we just got to vote.
Okay. Can you take a vote, City Clerk?
Yes. Alderman Braithwaite?
Aye.
Alderman Nguyen?
No.
Alderman Wilson?
No.
Alderman Ruth Simmons? No. Alderman Sufferton? No. Alderman Ravel? No. Alderman Rainey?
No.
Alderman Fleming?
Aye. Excuse me.
All right. So that,
Alderman Fisk?
No.
all right. So that motion did not pass then. All right. So do we have a motion?
I move to approve.
Okay. Do we have a
Well, it
second?
was already moved.
Yeah, we had a second. Could you take the roll on that, City Clerk?
Alderman Braithwaite?
Nope.
Alderman Nguyen?
Aye.
Alderman Wilson?
Aye.
Alderman Ruth Simmons?
Aye.
Alderman Sufferton? Aye. Alderman Ravel? Aye. Alderman Rainey?
Aye.
Alderman Fleming?
No.
Alderman Fisk?
All right. So A35, 12-month divvy contract extension with Motivate International Inc. passes the City Council 7-2. Okay. City Manager, do you want to just discuss if we hold on the executive session, when the next executive session would be?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, we have a meeting scheduled for next Monday evening, the 29th. The council previously indicated a 6 p.m. start time for that meeting, so we would propose a 6 p.m. start time and then executive session with the same agenda before you this evening at the conclusion of that meeting.
This is listed as 7 p.m. Sorry.
What did he say?
He said
Okay, so city manager is proposing we will not have executive session tonight, but instead have it after next Monday's meeting,
And
which is a
6 p.m.
special
still work
meeting
for folks on
for
Monday?
affordable housing.
Okay.
Okay, all right, so we'll go with that. If we now can do call of the wards. Who are we starting with tonight? I'm sorry. Alderman Braithwaite.
No report.
Alderman Nguyen.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. There will be a third ward town hall meeting on Thursday, this coming Thursday, which is January 25th, at Lincoln School from 7 to 8:30. All are welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Wilson? No. Alderman Ruth Simmons?
Thank you. Thank you and congratulations to Pastor and Lady Monty Dillard of First Church of God Christian Life Center for 7 years of service and ministry. And thank you to Daniel Featherson for his vision and producing the Westy Awards. There were several residents that were honored. I don't think I have a full list, but congratulations to Derek Brown, Bridget Giles, Althea Brown, Lonnie Wilson, Don Michelin, and Jennifer Eason. Thank you.
Excellent. Alderman Sufferton? Alderman Ravel? Alderman Rainey?
Yes, I wanted to thank St. Francis Hospital for another beautiful and just very touching Martin Luther King celebration on last Monday. And thank you to all the people who came to the community meeting last week. And to announce that at our community meeting, we had 4 new building owners in the stretch of 800 to 500 Howard Street, and 6 new business owners. It's just amazing. And I want to thank the council for approving the sale of Peckish Pig tonight. That I feel like now those 2 properties, Peckish Pig and Ward 8, have been sold. I feel like an empty nester. So thank you very much. It's really a successful thing.
Thank you, Alderman Rainey. Alderman Fleming?
Yes. I'd like to make 2 referrals, please, to staff. I believe the first one maybe needs to go to the health department. I'm not sure. Sorry. It's regarding open communities. They were on a bills list tonight. I would like to get a report of how many clients they served last year, how many Evanston residents, including, the number and what the referral was for those clients. And my second one also came off the bills list. It has to do with the hearing officers. I would also like a report of last year's activity for the hearing officers, and so including the hours they worked, the number of cases they had, and the total amount we paid them.
Terrific. Alderman Fisk? Okay. Is there a motion to adjourn? Second?
Second.
All right, all in favor? All right, thank you, everybody, for your hard work tonight.